Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time of day it is for you, whatever you are doing, I hope you are feeling amazing, having a beautiful day, doing amazing things, basking in all the abundance, and just, enjoying your life and whatever is unfolding for you. So today, I wanted to talk about a pretty important topic, and it's about limiting habits and limiting patterns and pinpointing them in order to start manifesting and creating better things for yourself. And this is a very important topic because when it comes to consciously creating and when it comes to manifesting and when it comes to creating more of what we want, we need to remember that we live in a reality where we energetically attract what we are, not what we want. We do this with our thoughts. We do this with our words. We're doing this constantly, whether we're aware of it or not. We're doing it either subconsciously or consciously. So we need to be aware of what patterns we're getting into and what habits we keep doing to continue to create the same things. Because if you notice the same things are coming up all the time, it's probably because you have developed a pattern or a habit. And if it's about something that you don't necessarily like, then you probably would want to move through that. You'd probably want to get over that little hump or whatever that limiting idea is. So today I wanted to talk about kind of like pinpointing that. So the key to breaking and changing, or the key to changing these habits and patterns is by breaking them, is by pinpointing them and not allowing them to continue and to train yourself to not keep doing them. Hopefully that makes sense. So how do you do this? First, you want to get to the core of the pattern. So remember, as Abraham Hicks says, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. Odds are, if something is continuously coming up for you, it's because there's a belief. It could be rooted in lack. It could be rooted in abundance. But if you continue to create something or have the same thing come up for you, there's probably a belief there. And you want to get to the core of it, the core feeling, the core sentence of what you're mentally operating at, because that is going to tell you what you are creating. So like for me, one of my limiting beliefs is I don't have enough time. And if you have seen any of my videos before, you know that I've talked about this and that it's been something that I consciously work on. So when I have this belief come up, hi Tony, how are you? I'm so glad to see that you are on this. When I have these beliefs come up about time, about not having enough time, I have to stop myself dead in my tracks, slow down and say like, whoa, that is not true. I can always handle what I have thrown at me. I've never not had enough time to do something. I've always had enough time to do something. So why am I feeling so, why am I putting myself in this very constricted ball or energy portal? And why am I giving my power away to the idea of time when I don't need to? So that's something that I have to do. And when you have these thoughts come up over and over and over again, you're adding repetition. When you add repetition to something, you're strengthening the vibration of it. When you focus on it, when you repeat it over and over again, I don't have enough time, or money is hard for me to find, or I'm always broke, or I can't catch a break, anything like that, you are strengthening that vibration every time you think about it. And you want to ask yourself, why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? And why is this idea my go-to? Why is this something that I feel like I need to operate at? I hope that makes sense. I mean, this even came up for me last night. I had a limiting idea come up because I was going through a situation where something felt very, very similar to stuff that had happened in the past. And I started operating in advance to how I've operated in the past before anything had even happened. So where I'm going with that is, don't look for a pattern. And that's something that we do all the time, and that's how we create the patterns. We, as humans, to be safe, to, evolve successfully, we are going to look for patterns because we're trying to like evolve and live and be safe, and that is like normal. Obviously, we've been programmed to do that, but don't look for negative patterns. Don't look for patterns at all. And that's hard because we don't want to walk into the unknown. We don't want to not know what's going to happen. So it's almost like safer for us to know that something's going to get really, really crappy and just go with it rather than not know and have it go terribly, right? But when you look for these patterns, when you look for, oh, this person said this before, so they're probably going to say this now, or this person did this before, so they're probably going to do this now, you're creating that. You're putting your focus on that. You're creating that pattern. And you're just going to create more of it for yourself. You're just going to keep pulling it in and keep bringing it in. So that's kind of difficult. But once you get to that pattern and once you see like, oh no, I've thought this many, many times. Why am I doing this to myself? That's how you start to break it. And when we repeat something, when we continue to think about something, when we're focusing on it, we're creating neural pathways in our brain. And the more you do it, the stronger that neural pathway gets. And that will become like your kind of like autopilot, like automatic thought process. So you want to make sure that you're creating strong neural pathways of positivity instead of strong neural pathways of negativity. Me, in my personal experience, I had to work through moving through a lot of strong neural pathways of negativity. And I still, every once in a while have to acknowledge that I'm moving through that and that maybe that's not the best kind of thought process for me to move through. And it's going to take time, and it definitely takes dedication to start to move into a more positive mindset, especially when you start to pinpoint these patterns. But when you start to do this and when you start to pay attention to like what you're typically thinking, that's when you start to change it, and that's when you start to get that power back that you've been looking for the whole time. And that's when you start to create actually very positive things for yourself. So just remember that like you can shift it. Absolutely. Hi Hope, how are you? So things are going to start in your mind first. Something happens, and then you're going to perceive it in some way. You're going to see it, you're going to hear it, you're going to experience it. Based on your experiences in the past, based on those neural pathways that you have, you're going to create an assumption about it, most likely. Oh, this happened, so this is probably going to happen. Oh, that happened, so that's likely going to happen. Again, this is what we do out of safety. But your focus on it is going to create more of it. So, let's say you are at work. I'm going to go off of like personal experience because that's what I know and that's the easiest thing to talk about. So let's say at work I had a very like mean customer, right? And so this is what used to happen. I'd have a mean customer or someone who just like wasn't in a good mood, and maybe they projected their bad mood onto me, and I took it very, very personally and very, very hard, and I thought I was a very bad person and not worthy and just not good at my job and not good enough to help this person, like whatever it was. And because I focused on it, I would start to actually create more scenarios in the day or more scenarios coming up in that week that started to create more of that, that started to confirm that belief, confirm that focus, that repetition. Because I was like mindlessly, because I wasn't aware of it, creating that, because I would like talk about how mean the person was, and I would talk about how mad they were, and I would talk about what a jerk they were and how they treated me bad, like, and how upset I was. And now, let's fast forward to like a couple days ago, I had a customer who, and this was all over the phone, and it was actually pretty interesting. So I had a customer call, and we were having a conversation, and they started to get very, very angry, and they started to get very aggressive, and they started swearing. And I started to get like shaky on the phone, and I was like, hold on a second, like you're being very rude right now with your tone. And in that moment, this person freaked out and just went off on the phone. And they wanted to talk to the owner, which makes sense because I would do the same thing. And I said, hold on, let's talk about this, because I don't want to leave this conversation. And I actually said all of this. I don't want to leave this conversation feeling this way, and I don't want you to leave this conversation feeling this way. So let's get to the bottom of this. And so I said, honestly, I apologize for making you feel this way. I apologize if I exacerbated how you're feeling. You swore and I took it as a personal attack when I know it wasn't. And she said, no, it wasn't at you. It was at the situation. And I'm sorry if I made you upset. I'm sorry if I did that to you. And we kept talking a little bit, and we talked about different things. And then she told me what she was actually upset about was something that had happened over the weekend. And had every right to be upset about what she was upset about, but she took all of that anger out on me. So, and that's fine, whatever, I could, I'm happy that I was able to acknowledge that and move through it and have a conscious conversation instead of just automatically going to, I'm a bad person, I don't deserve good people, I can't do my job, or I can't do anything right. No, we ended up ending the conversation on very good terms. She felt a lot better, I felt a lot better, and it is completely different than how I used to handle conversations and how I used to handle people like that, because I stopped taking offense to it and I stopped taking other people's projections of anger and frustration to be something that is directly at me. That took a lot of time. That's one of the first times I've ever been able to do that and actually see it all the way to the end. So hopefully that paints a cool picture. It is very interesting, and it is important to remember when you are dealing with other people that everyone is dealing with their own perceptions, and you can't control other people. You can't. It would be awesome if we could, I guess, but it would also be kind of boring. So you can't control other people, and you always give people the opportunity to show up differently in every moment, because someone could be very, very mad one moment, and then the next moment they could be totally over it. I know I move through my emotions very, very quickly, so I could be very, very angry in 1 second, or very frustrated, or very sad about something that happened, but then in the next moment I'm back to being happy because I've moved through it. Don't keep someone in a bubble. Don't keep someone as the angry customer or the angry boyfriend, and don't keep someone as the very happy-go-lucky person, because then when they start to shift and move and evolve through their own life and move through their own problems, it will be very hard for you to relate. But when you allow people to show up differently in every moment, that's when you can start to learn about things. Didn't mean to get into a super deep relationship thing there, but hopefully that makes sense. So if something is coming up for you repeatedly, a lot, let's say you continue to attract the same kind of boss or the same kind of job experience, right? Really ask yourself, what am I thinking or believing about this right now? And write it all down. Write a list. Am I thinking that I'm bad at my job? Am I thinking that I'll never be able to work for myself? And again, this is just an example for the work scenario I'm doing right now. Am I not good enough to be respected? Am I not worthy of respect? Am I not, write it all down. See what's coming up for you, because when you get to those beliefs, you'll see the thought patterns that you started to create, and you'll be able to acknowledge what needs work. Do you actually believe that you're not worthy of respect? Do you actually believe that you can't do a good job? Do you actually believe that you're not worth being paid more? Maybe, maybe not. But that's what you can work on, and that's how you can start to shift out of that mentality and out of feeling like a victim to the circumstances that you may have going on. And again, when it comes to people, when it comes to talking with other people, you want to make sure that you are mindfully responding instead of mindlessly reacting. So for me, in the situation that I was talking about with that conversation with that specific customer, a couple minutes ago, I at first mindlessly reacted. When you react, you are just going off of your old thought patterns. You are not thinking it through. You're not going slowly. You're just quickly blaming people and, whatever. And we all do it, and it's not a big deal, but we can move through it, and we can start evolving the conversations that we're having with people. And this is how you are going to give people the opportunity to show up differently. So at first, I reacted. However, the second I did, I stopped myself and I said, no, let me think this through. Let me start responding to this person. Let me start actually mindfully communicating and mindfully perceiving this and letting it be a brand new situation. And that was switching from reacting to responding. This person also, because I did this, reflected that. And instead of reacting, they started responding. And the situation ended up going very, very well. I'm hoping that this makes sense to you guys and that it helps you, that this example is helping you guys like figure it out a little bit better, or understand it a little more. Hi, Kimberly. What do you focus on when you have noticed these patterns and you're trying to shift the perception to something other than the established neural pathway? Okay, that's a great question. So what do you focus on when you've noticed the patterns you're trying to shift? So if you are focusing on something and you notice that you have, there's a pattern, there's something that I think about all the time, you want to start, and it might be hard to pivot in that moment, but just try and backtrack a little bit from whatever you're thinking about. And this is what I do. Either get off the subject and then write it down maybe, and then go back to it like a few hours later when you're in a better feeling place. And then what you want to do is start establishing a more positive neural pathway. So something that you can do is start planting positive affirmations that kind of negate that negative belief and start saying them throughout your day. So like something I did last night when one came up for me, a pattern that I always thought that was like, I'm not like, and this is one that comes up for me all the time too, that I've always had to work on. I'm sure everybody has to work on this one, that I'm not worthy enough, that I'm not good enough. And the second I started thinking it, I was like, wow, I don't want to believe that at all. I don't truly think that that is something that I don't want to operate at that. That doesn't feel good. It feels better to operate at, I am abundance. I'm worthy of having great people in my life. I'm worthy of attracting really good things. I'm worthy of respect. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of abundance. I'm worthy of the universe to shower its beautiful energy down on me. And that feels way better. But yeah, like I said, you can either plant little ones in your day and start saying them to yourself. It takes repetition. It takes dedication. But once you start to pinpoint your more negative neural pathways, your more negative thought patterns, you'll be able to, it's almost going to feel like, okay, now I see it. Now, how would I like to change that? How would I like to think of something better? And then just start thinking about it more often. Plant things in your day, whether it's an affirmation, whether it's a song, whether it's like an outfit, whether you're journaling, it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, whatever resonates for you, do it. But do it often, because then you're going to start to train yourself to think, no, I'm a badass. No, I'm great. Like, no, I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of abundance. I'm worthy of money. And the things that I want me, because all of those things feel really good when you think about them, because our higher self and the universe and source all know them to be true. So that's why it feels so good when you're aligned with that thought. Whereas if you're thinking like, I'm crappy, I don't deserve anything, and I'm not worthy of anything that I want, that feels really, really bad and really constricted, because the universe, source, your higher self all know them to be not true. So when you start getting into that vibration, you're not in alignment, and it feels rocky, and it feels unstable, and it feels constricting, because you're not in your true, like, center of source, if that makes sense. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Sheetal. How are you? Yeah, so I think that's all that I have on that this morning, but I hope that this has helped you guys, and I hope that it inspires you to kind of start changing up what you're thinking and change up how you respond to things or how you're reacting to things. And it takes time, and it's okay if you don't get it overnight, and it's okay if you don't change things overnight. It doesn't always happen that way. Give yourself the space to grow and to change and to evolve in your own time. But also give other people the space and time to do the same, because we're all on our own paths, and it's hard because I know a lot of us want to help other people change and up level and stuff. And you can continue to give people all the information that you want, but people are going to get it when they're ready. People are going to get it when they're in that like space to get it, to understand it. Like, I've listened to teachers hundreds of times say the same things, but there are times where like I don't it doesn't click with me until like even a couple years later, where I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I get it a few years ago? Because I wasn't in alignment, because I wasn't ready to understand it. So just let people be on their own path. Be on your own path. Don't try to walk someone's path for them, and don't let someone walk your path for you. So habits and thought patterns, pretty intense stuff, but it is pretty key to understand that in order to start changing things. So I hope this resonates. I hope that this, hi fruit fly, I hope that this inspires you, makes you feel a little more empowered, and I hope that you guys do some positive things with it. If you have other topics that you would like me to cover in these videos, please let me know, because you guys give me the best ideas. Thanks to everybody who said hi, and if you didn't, hello, and if you're watching the replay, hi, and I'm just really excited I got to talk about this today. So I hope you all have an amazing day, and I hope that you manifest some abundance and do some amazing things and attract the very best. Love and light.